Well, this is not the day to have this voice, Gibby. This is not the day to have this voice.
You're here. Through it.
It's going to take a lot of nursing. In my in my morning, it got better as I went along.
Then you had a little stoppage.
Then I had to stop. I should have just kept talking 6 hours straight. Morning got better as it went along. We'll do the best we can. I would put it at like a 39% now. I'll hope that we can get it into a 51. See, it's already coming a little bit.
Yep.
Get to a point where we get a 51 by the time we're done with this thing because, quite frankly, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the National Football League. And it is your heartstrings are pulled in about a million different directions this time of year. And, of course, nothing that we're about to discuss here is official. That can't happen for a while. But it is widely reported across NFL circles in terms of some of the movings and some of the comings and goings that are happening with this team. You no doubt saw by now that reportedly this team has acquired Amari Cooper. So you get a number one receiver before he hits the market. Let's remember now that Mike Williams did not come to market. Let's remember that Godwin did not come to market. By the way, Brady coming back maybe had something to do with that, and we will get to that. A little bit of news going on this weekend. But then within the last hour, and this is where emotionally it's tough. And again, reportedly, but this is Adam Schefter, it's Ian Rappaport, that the Browns have released wide receiver Jarvis Landry, who had received permission to seek a trade. And that is the one that's tough, right? I mean, that's a tough one because of not only what, Jarvis meant to organization, but to us personally on this show. He was one of our favorite guests. He was incredibly generous on this show with his time. He was incredibly candid with his time when he was on this show. And I know Nathan feels the same way. Do we have Z? Is he on the line? Buddy, you don't know if you heard or not what I kind of said off the top because, again, the voice is in and out. But just from the standpoint of the full range of emotions and this stuff with Jarvis, it's a lot, man. It's tough to take. You're thrilled about Amari Cooper coming in, but the business of the NFL, and I know you've had to do this a lot, having been around this league a lot, but you lose friends in this instance, and this reportedly appears to be what's happened here.
Yeah, no doubt, and I apologize for the noise in the background coming to you from the wizarding world of Harry Potter right now, and so a lot going on, by the way. Hopefully I'll get a little spell for your voice. We'll get that taken care of. But, yeah, look, the first thing is Andrew Berry, when he has a priority to attack in free agency or at this time of year in the offseason, he does it. So I am not surprised by the move for Amari Cooper. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, Jarvis Landry, I wanted him to retire as a Brown. I love Jarvis Landry. I mean that sincerely. I love him as a human being. I've loved my time around him. I love what he's meant to this franchise. I love what he's brought to this franchise. I have the utmost respect for him. He is tougher than anybody can imagine. He plays through things that nobody else would play through, and he is just really the epitome, I think, of what it means to be a Cleveland Brown. Now, unfortunately, the sides couldn't come to an agreement on, the business of it, and so Jarvis is going to have an opportunity to move on because you are bringing in Amari Cooper at a big number in that receiver room, and I'd imagine they're going to work out some type of an extension with Amari Cooper to keep him with the Browns for a few years, but you really only give up a fifth to get him. But it hurts to lose Jarvis. It is part of the natural evolution of this business. This is now a decade of me with the Cleveland Browns, and so I've had many people that I consider to be great, great friends in this organization either have to move on to another team or move on with their playing careers. And so it's one of those things that you still don't get used to it. It will be so odd coming out there and knowing that Jarvis is not going to be a part of what we do. So on that note, it is a bummer. Really, it is. It's like losing a good friend. And certainly he's going to still be around, and we'll get a chance to see him, I'm sure, wherever he lands at some point. But that's the hard part of it. The move for Amari Cooper, though, and I don't think the Browns are done. I would imagine we could see a receiver also coming in free agency. We still, receivers still in play at number 13. I think if they make another kind of, not splash on the level of Cooper, but, Christian Kirk's the name that we're seeing linked to the Browns. If they were to bring in Kirk and Amari Cooper, my guess is that 13 will be used maybe on the defensive line as opposed to wide receiver, but we'll see how that evolves over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky part is because it's a Pure Joy Monday edition, right? You're getting Amari Cooper. You're getting a number one wide receiver. This is an incredible thing that Andrew Berry has done, and he's done it this is now 3 straight years in free agency where he has an objective, and he obtains that objective right away. almost before business gets started in the NFL. He gets it right away out of the way, and it allows for him to have a much more open playing field to address the team in other ways. If this Amari Cooper deal didn't happen, Z, you would have been way up against it at receiver. The pressure would have continued to mount by the day because this receiver market did not materialize the way that we thought it would.
No, everybody's staying put, and that's what happens with talented receivers in a league where the passing game is more important than ever. And when you are the Dallas Cowboys, they had decisions that they had to make because of salary, and they'd invested in CeeDee Lamb, and they knew they were going to have to be paying him and Michael Gallup as well. And so they made a decision there that number for Amari Cooper, it wasn't tenable. Now, remember, it was about, 10 days ago that it was announced they were releasing Amari Cooper, and then he wasn't released. And we talked about they're going to try to trade him. And look, we want something back, and that something turns out to be just a fifth-round pick for the Browns. They'll swap 6. That is a very small price to pay, and it reminds me of a few years back when I believe it was Jim Harbaugh traded Anquan Bolden to John Harbaugh for like a fifth-round pick going to the Ravens, or a sixth-round pick, and that really kind of helped get the Ravens where they needed to be. But you're right, the receiver market in terms of real number ones had dried up. You would have been gambling on a DJ Chark to get back to a 1,000-yard form. You would have had to go, for sure, I think, early in the draft. And I still think you'd love to pair that, right? Cooper with he who shall not be named. But it is now not imperative that you do that, and you've got some flexibility now early in the draft and even into free agency to see how you want this thing to really pan out. But I'll tell you, I remember when Amari Cooper was with the Raiders early in his career. He came to First Energy Stadium, and his route running was just so impressive. And he's a guy – got a good catch radius, and I think will bring a lot of juice and steadiness on the outside. And look, I don't think we're done, though. I know that there are big fans of Brandon Cooks in our building, and I think that's a trade, again, that could be very, very cheap in terms of its cost, that could bring you that speed element. Christian Kirk's the guy who could bring you that speed element, and then we know the guys in the draft. So a lot of ways that could go. But, it's crazy. I was walking around at Epcot, and I just happened to look at my phone. I've been very, very present, obviously, having a great time with the fam down here at Disney and Universal. And all of a sudden, I hit Twitter literally at the second it was announced. And I'm walking through Mexico at Epcot, and all of a sudden, Browns fans were coming up to me. They're like, we got Cooper. Do you see this? Did you see this, Z? And I was like, yes, this is great. So it was just a kind of a cool moment there. And then, obviously, on the flip side, the sad part of it. And I had gotten hopeful when they said they were going to try to work on a restructure for Jarvis, but it sounds like, the years didn't necessarily jive for the two sides, and so that's where we are here today.
Yeah, I think, and that's, we'll have a long time to, whenever this becomes official and Amari is here in the building and we're able to talk to him and all of that, the excitement, the pure joy that comes with it. But there is the melancholy of no more Jarvis Landry, and
no doubt.
I said this, you and I have said it on this show emphatically. We hope he retired to Brown. We understand that sometimes that's a fairy tale to think that the NFL doesn't work that way. It is a business.
No.
Bobby Wagner found out publicly that after 10 years in Seattle that he wasn't going to play there anymore.
By the way.
Yeah, but at the same time, the one thing, and I said this, you were off on Friday or last week, and I said, the Seahawks could have intended to, but who knows if some agent leaks it or where it comes from. You really have to.
Or he doesn't pick up that phone call at that moment. Right.
Exactly.
Sure.
It's hard to really make sure that happens. But I think when I think of Jarvis Landry, I think of, you think of this era we're in, and this is the most successful era the Browns have had, since the late 80s. And that's a lot of what had happened in the 2 decades, since the return of the Browns. In terms of heart and soul, in terms of
no doubt.
This is the right way, Jarvis Landry is as responsible as anyone for it.
Culture change, absolutely. Yeah, you think about that speech that was captured on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, he brought, he was a Pro Bowler. He was a stud. He was a leader. He's a guy that the players in the locker room looked up to and that they followed, and that he had a massive impact on the way that we operated as a football team on the field and in the locker room and off the field. And he was, like, you're right, heart and soul. We've said that. The leader, the guy that we wanted to retire here, and somebody that, will be probably on our Mount Rushmore of Browns players that we interacted with in our time with this great organization. So it stinks. It stinks. I not say that I had a sense that this was coming, but, you knew there was uncertainty at the end of the season. And Jarvis and I got to have like a nice moment at the end of the season. And like I said, I know I'll see him again, but it's hard. It's hard. It's not going to be the same without seeing 80 running around out there being, the great blocker that he is, the teammate, getting people lined up in the critical moments when he needs to, before we beat Cincinnati and make that throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Just an absolute stud, and it's the business. It's the business, but it doesn't make it easy, even if couch it in that framework that, well, yeah, it's just business. But, yeah, it stinks. These are people you've gotten to know over the course of many, many years and gotten to spend some time with and really root for and respect and learn to love.
Yeah, well said, sir. Hey, buddy, what's been the amusement park MVP of the amusement parks out down there? Who's winning?
Well, I mean, Disney's incredible. Animal Kingdom is a fine park, but it has a ride from the Avatar movies that is like pretty much the most breathtaking technology I could imagine. If you're a Star Wars fan, Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios is mind-boggling. Like, you really get to feel like you are in Star Wars. You get to be in the Millennium Falcon. Like, it's bonkers. So those two, and then this Harry Potter world at Universal is just simply incredible. So it's been a great time. We're having a great time. I'm excited to keep it going, but also I'll be excited to get back, because when I do come back on Wednesday, that is the kickoff of the league year, and all this stuff we're talking about and we'll be speculating on will become official.
Yeah, and the good news is you'll have plenty of time to talk, because I will not have a voice by Wednesday. I mean, there's no
this
chance.
Has been going on for a week now.
Well, this is over the weekend. I mean, this is a point now where we're almost untenable. We're hanging on by literally a vocal thread. That's where we are right now.
You are, but you know what? You are
power.
That's why you're the champion that you are. No excuses. Play like a champion.
No.
Just come out here and continue to perform at an elite level.
Plenty of excuses. Still try. That's really more what I'm about. Plenty of excuses. Don't hold it against me. Still try. Buddy, thanks for your time and your perspective. Have fun with the family. The official Nana's down there, right? She's down there in the mix as well.
Nana's
there?
Okay, first of all, Nana's been the MVP.
Of course.
Nana has gone
Team
on
player.
the rock and roller coaster with flips. Nana took down a turkey leg at Epcot with just an unbelievable panache and level of carnivorism that I never expected. Like, if you told 10-year-old me when she was a vegetarian that this would have happened, wouldn't have believed it in all my life. She's the MVP. She's really turned into just an unbelievable performance. Yeah,
I
put
might
your hands together. That's right.
Whenever I go to Disney, whenever I get talked into it, I might just bring her, and just for moral support.
I'd recommend it. I mean, Beau wants to bring you to Disney when he goes for emotional support. Are you in? Yes. You'll know no dull moments with Nana are
none.
Also guaranteed. Some of the questions she asks are just tremendous.
I love
really
it.
Great.
I love it. Have fun, buddy. Look forward to seeing you when you get back.
All right. You got it, guys. Thanks.
All right. You heard from Z. See, there you go. Down at Disney, living his best life.
Oh, sure. Once he got there. I told him it'll be a week before he gets back, the way the airlines have kind of done him and his family here this spring.
I just feel I'm absolutely flop sweating about 2 weeks from Saturday. I mean, I'm just panicked about it. The only thing is I get direct.
Yeah, that's
it's the only thing I can hope for.
I think you'll be okay. I'm confident. The one thing they don't mess with is the international travel.
I hope not.
Yeah,
I hope not, brother.
I like. Don't worry. Don't worry.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, hope
he's
for the best.
Supposed to come back tomorrow.
Oh, he is. But then he's back here Wednesday. That's the deal. Okay. All right. So that's where you stand. If you're just joining us, so obviously we've spoken about the Amari Cooper deal. The specifics of that deal reportedly will receive Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick in exchange for a 5 and a 6, so a swap of 6 or just a 5th in exchange for Amari Cooper. Once he, as Nathan said, and I think that's, common sense that they would try to work out a longer-term deal with Cooper going forward, and he would become a part of this going forward. Now, one of the casualties of that is a significant one. It's one that cuts deep. It's Jarvis Landry. Reportedly, Jarvis Landry has been released by the Browns, and he is. I mean, I have to imagine. I can't imagine having to tell my son Beamsy this today. Like, that is not going to be good.
Day.
No, it's not a great day. That's not.
My kid has already reached out.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Do you need to tell me something?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, you're in school.
Yeah,
I don't need to know anything yet."
He was so popular with kids. I mean, like, my middle boy, like, that's his dude. Like, that is his dude, is Jarvis. Always has been. So that's going to be a tough sell.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, Armando Salguero, our guy down in Miami, that when they first traded Jarvis to us 4 years ago, 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's how long it's been. He said, he goes, He had nothing but glowing. He goes, you're going to love him. You're going to love everything about him. Armando Salguero tweeting, Bills, Bills, Bills for Jarvis Landry.
I mean, it would make all the sense in the world. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world.
He's going to go
Diggs
to a
on
good
one
team.
side, him and, yeah. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of rumor out there. We'll address some of that rumor. Benjamin Albright's been all over a bunch of things. You're going to hear what he had to say about the potential for a Von Miller situation here. Obviously, we're going to have to amplify this defensive line that is known. If you've learned anything about Andrew Berry, when he has a need, he addresses it immediately. So we'll hear from Benjamin on that briefly. We have some other guys signing, including a new quarterback in Pittsburgh. We will have the details on that. Former players, Larry Ogunjobi finding a new home, Emmanuel Ogba finding a new home. So we'll get you the details on all of that on what should be a jam-packed edition here on a Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. It was 37% to start the show. Now it's like 58.
You're getting there.
That's by the time we're done, I'll be 71. Now I won't be able to talk tomorrow, so you're on your own.
You have to break it down. We're going to have 6 to 7 segments.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to just go one segment at a time.
That's all you're doing. You're just trying to power through.
We're going to see where we're at. The benchmark will be 2:00.
Yeah.
And then we'll see from there. We'll figure it out.
Yep, that's where we're at, hoping for the best. We have a flurry of activity here, Gibby, in the last
been writing furiously
35, 40 minutes. Why don't we go through some of this and see where we stand?
All right. Around the league, we'll start at the quarterback position. Obviously, the biggest news coming out was late day on Friday with Deshaun Watson and the grand jury refusing to move forward with charges, and things have kind of been put in motion now. And as the weekend has gone on, there have been a number of teams that have been mentioned that are possibly interested. The two that are jumping to the forefront right now, Carolina and New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I feel like Carolina, like it could be a Dallas, Minnesota, Herschel Walker deal all over again, I think, if Carolina wants it.
I don't think it will be, and I'm going to tell you why. This is something that no one's really talking about on the Deshaun Watson deal. First of all, not the best look out of Adam Schefter on Friday.
He hasn't had a few of those.
No, I mean it's deciding not to criminally charge does not equal innocence. So, and that was something that was really botched, I think, over the weekend or on Friday. Here's why Deshaun Watson will not turn into Herschel Walker. Deshaun Watson holds all the cards. He has a full no trade. He is not going to allow, at least I wouldn't if I were him, and I'm assuming he has smart representation around him, he is not going to allow the team that he is going to be gutted. Do you think he wants to go to a loser? Of course not. He wants to win. He wants to be competitive. Like, players historically don't care too much about draft picks in the future. They care about players on the current roster. But if you're Carolina and you have the holes that they have on their roster and you're giving up the 6th pick and a bunch of other stuff to get Watson, what exactly is Watson signing up for? Who's he playing with?
Bad offensive line.
Right.
One good wide receiver.
Correct.
I don't know what the future of your coach is, to be honest.
I mean, they're trying to trade McCaffrey, reportedly. Good luck. He hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, can't stay on the field.
Can't stay on the field. So if you're Watson, you just say, well, no, I'm not waiving it for that. He controls the process. It's crazy, but he does. He can set, I'm going here, and he can essentially approve the trade and what comes back. And nobody's talking about that part of it. That's the reason that I think this thing is so complicated, and I think it's why there also could be a real dark horse out there somewhere. There could be somebody you're not talking about who splashes for him.
And that has been a common theme this morning on NFL Network. Good Morning Football has talked about it. NFL Network's into their free agency frenzy. The common phrase that keeps popping up with every Deshaun Watson report is there could be a wild card out there. Yeah. There could be someone out there that we're really not seeing or not knowing how active they want to be in going after and pursuing. If you're Deshaun Watson, do you want to go to a team on the rebuild? I mean, New Orleans.
No way.
I don't know.
No way.
I don't know what New Orleans is these days.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they've won. I mean, like if they sign Watson, does that mean would Sean Payton want to come back in a year and coach the Saints again?
Is Michael Thomas still going to remain happy?
Is he going to play?
Yeah. I mean, what's going on with Kamara?
So I mean, I think that's something that is you have to remember in regard to Watson. And obviously, I mean, we're not blind. We saw that, our name was linked to him a lot. I think everybody in the league, except for teams who have 4 or 5 quarterbacks, are going to kick the tires on Deshaun Watson. If you were redrafting the league before all of this happened, he would be a top 5 pick to redraft the league. That's what he would have been. Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, him. They would have been the guys. Now, you could argue that's fallen. Obviously, it has because of what's happened off the field, but if that didn't happen, that's where he would have been. So he very much still controls this process.
Yeah, and I know there was a rap sheet report over the weekend that talked about they really wanted to get something done before Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I don't know. Deshaun Watson now wants to meet with the teams that are most interested.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, this is going to drag out. This is not going to get done this week.
He has the power to use this almost like free agency.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go on a grand tour.
He can. He can go before I approve the deal. Sell me.
Yeah.
That's what he can do.
And I shouldn't say it won't get done this week because who knows? Like maybe they're further along than we all realize.
Who knows, man?
But, if the package is right and the Texans have said, we want at least 3 1s.
I think, though, but Gibby, do they have the power to say that? I guess eventually they do because he's not going to not get paid.
This past year.
Yeah, but they paid him.
They paid him.
I guess eventually they do. They can say, look, dude, if you don't do this, like, we're just not going to pay you.
Yeah.
And then that would be the end game. But, I mean, maybe that's where this thing has to go. Who knows?
All right. Elsewhere in around the league, the NCAA tournament bracket was released at 6 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
And by 7 o'clock, no one cared because Tom Brady
still did. To hell with him.
Announced he was coming back. Oh, the text change between Beau and I last night with a few other luminaries on there.
Well, Z's not a luminary, but yeah. The he's a big B.
And you were right. By the way, you were right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. But the NFL is king. Like, the NCAA tournament's got to be going, this is our week. And baseball, you couldn't have picked a worse week to come back.
They're so far.
You couldn't. Like, what are you doing?
They're so far out of it. I think that, it was once that video. Look, we were at the Combine. I think when we look back on this year's Combine, we will look back on it. We have the Kyler Combine, the Herbert Combine. This will be the Tom Brady Combine because it was obvious from 10 minutes boots on the ground in Indy that Tom Brady was going to play this year. Now, we thought it'd be San Francisco. Most people over there did. I don't know. Maybe Tampa Bay called his bluff. Who knows? Probably not. Probably when you consider all the things they've done, they knew this was coming too. But he was going to play again.
Yes.
And so when you saw the video of him at Manchester United talking with Cristiano Ronaldo as his son's standing there, and Ronaldo asks him, "You're done," and he makes that face and audibly says, "Well, we'll have to see," or whatever he said, at that point, it's too far. It's out. It's done at that point. So, and by the way, he was over there. The Glazers own Manchester United. The same people who own Tampa Bay own Manchester United. He met with Sir Alex Ferguson, like he met with the who's who of that organization. And once that, I was like, well, it's just a matter of when now. How long is this going to take? And he let it last about a day, and then it was official that he would be returning. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's still elite. The NFC is so winnable. It is so winnable.
The whole retirement process made 0 sense.
Yeah.
Made 0 sense. There wasn't a press conference to say goodbye. He didn't say goodbye to New England right away. He thanked Tampa and not New England. Guy was all over the place in terms of how this was going down. Remember the podcast? We thought he was going to do it on the podcast, and it was going to be Monday night. The ESPN had leaked it, Darlington, and then he didn't do it right away, and it was drawn out, and then all of a sudden he did it, and at no point I think did anybody think he wasn't going to play. I mean, just sit back, think about it a little bit, come on back. And all of a sudden, is Tampa Bay the number 2 team in the NFC?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of 4 teams, them, the Rams, the Packers, those 3.
The Cowboys, if you want to throw them in.
I kind of put the Cowboys and Cardinals below, but I mean, those 3 go win the NFC, go win the Super Bowl. They're those teams. They've absolutely done it. Real quickly, how much, if Cristiano Ronaldo from a world popularity standpoint is a 100 out of 100, which if you're arguing against that, then you don't know anything about anything.
Correct.
So if he's a 100 out of 100, what is Brady out of 100? Globally.
I would say a solid 82.
I'm with you. I think you're about right. It's funny you say that because I was right there. I said he's about 80 or 85% as popular as Cristiano Ronaldo around the world.
Yeah.
But it's significant because he's not as popular around the world as like LeBron, Messi, those guys. Like he's known, and in part because of who his wife is.
Correct.
She would be probably more like 90% of Cristiano Ronaldo's popularity.
I would argue that he doesn't have the brand that the other guys have because he really hasn't done a lot from an advertising standpoint, endorsement standpoint.
No.
So this just in, by the way, from Josina Anderson, when obviously we'll have these updates. I'm told Jadeveon Clowney will take his time and look at every opportunity in free agency Several teams are interested per league sources. That's from Josina Anderson. Number one, I will tell you this. Jadeveon Clowney does not like the offseason workouts.
Yeah, it'll be a long way.
Has always taken his time, and I fully expect that probably to continue and not have a decision probably until April at the earliest.
No, I think what you can say from our perspective about that is you'd love to have him back, but it might be too rich for our blood considering everything else that has to happen on that front. So with the quarterbacks, you have Watson, you have Brady, and then you have this today, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Just as we were going on the air. 2-year deal. Mitchell Trubisky, Cleveland's own, to the Pittsburgh Squealers.
When did they draft Mason Rudolph? Was he a second rounder?
Stand by. I don't know if he was that high. I don't think we want to give him. He is 26 years of age. He was drafted in the 3rd round.
Okay.
2018.
All right, so Mason Rudolph's a 3rd rounder.
He's garbage.
Dwayne Haskins is a 1st rounder, still on their roster, and now Mitch Trubisky a 1st rounder on their roster.
Correct.
So
there'll be a competition in Squealerville.
I would think Trubisky would win that competition.
I would like to think that Trubisky would win that.
He's limited. He's an Ohio legend, an Ohio high school legend at Menor High School, and I always root for his career. Not going to now in Pittsburgh, obviously, but root for him to do well. I always thought he came out, and you can't say he came out too early because what was he, the 2nd pick overall?
Yeah.
So and the Bears went up to get him, but he just needed more seasoning, and the Steelers hopeful that he got that seasoning over in Buffalo with Brian Daboll. Sounded like it was between the Steelers and the Giants for him, and he ends up going.
Yeah,
going to Pittsburgh.
This developed. There was a little rumor back and forth. I mean, it seemed like last week he was going to the Giants. In the Schefter podcast, he definitely made it pretty clear that the Giants were interested. But obviously the money was right. A 2-year deal always helps too. You're not playing on a 1-year contract, so a 2-year deal for Trubisky. We'll see what he does. I mean, again, the guy had success in Chicago. Like, he did get you to the playoffs in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that Pittsburgh views him as he could be a bridge guy there too.
Yeah,
you could draft a guy, and then he's a good person, and he's a bridge guy. I mean, they're going to be attempting to do with him what, like the Tannehill situation. Not the same with Alex Smith because Alex Smith was really good with the 49ers, but even Alex Smith having a nice job, doing a nice job in Kansas City. That's what you're kind of hoping that you can do there. They have a lot of weapons, certainly. So we'll see where all that goes.
The other quarterback of note from the weekend that was, by the way, Friday feels like a month ago based on everything that's gone on.
Yeah, it really does.
Kirk Cousins getting a 1-year extension on top of, he's got 1 more year in Minnesota.
Yep.
He gets another year now. $40 million this year, $30 million next year. Cousins going nowhere. Our guy Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell have long said since they got there that he was going to be their guy. He is their guy for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. So he's in guaranteed money. He's like $230 million in guaranteed money. He's played the system perfectly.
Yes,
he just keeps
has.
taking these short, played on the tag, keeps doing that, maximizing his power every chance that he gets. And so it'll be $230 million that he's made of salary, all of it. He's seen every penny of it. And now another $70 million that will be coming his way over the next 2 years to stay in Minnesota. I don't understand it from the I guess probably from Kwesi's standpoint, what he's thinking is, hey, Green Bay, Rams, Cardinals, now Buccaneers. Those 4, Dallas, Cardinals, us. And he's saying, okay, if we get in the dance, who knows what can happen?
Offensively, we're good enough to compete with teams.
Right.
If they can lock down the defense, and they've had some issues with that, but if they can get the defense figured out.
Yeah, so if you're him, you're saying, hey, let's do some things in the draft. Let's get better. Let's keep him.
It's a new regime.
Let's get some culture of winning. And that's the thought process there. It's just such a different view if you're in the NFC versus the AFC. I mean, the AFC is snake pit, man. That's why, like, AB, we got, reportedly we get Amari Cooper, but you got a lot more work to do to keep pace.
Yeah.
In the NFC, heck, be the fourth team.
Be a 500 team, you're probably in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more room over there in terms of upward mobility. So that's where we stand on that. There's a bunch of other player stuff that we're seeing. We're going to get to some of those for you here in a second. We will also, a big shakeup in the booth. Crazy. I mean, what's happened there? I don't know what caused all of this, but it did. I have a hunch of what did. We will get to all of that and get you some position guys who are moving around the league as well. It's coming up next. You'll see Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Your business is shopping for an enterprise operating system partner, but you don't know where to begin. Beau here from my friends at EOX Vantage. They're data scientists who are also business operations experts. Your EOX Vantage team not only builds and installs your system, they act as your ongoing tech support. So you're hiring a continuous improvement and support system. EOX Vantage is not tied to any single brand or hardware or software. So you're getting a truly customized, purpose-built solution along with a partner that answers only to you. And EOX Vantage does not outsource. All the operational expertise, proprietary solutions, tech support come from one unified partner. You can see how companies have profited from hiring one fully objective operating systems partner at EOXVantage.com. I recommend you checking them out. Good people there. Go ahead, Gibby.
This officially from the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have made the following roster move. We have terminated the contract of Jarvis Landry. Landry joined the Browns via trade in 2018. Led the team in receptions in each of his 4 seasons in Cleveland. During his 4 seasons with the Browns, Landry recorded 288 catches for 3,560 yards, 15 touchdowns, while adding 120 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns and 137 passing yards with 1 touchdown. He is the only player in NFL history to record at least 70 receptions in each of his first 7 seasons. Landry was named the Browns' 2019 Walter Payton Man of the Year. This from Executive Vice President of Football Operations and GM Andrew Berry. The trade for Jarvis Landry in 2018 was a key moment for our organization. Jarvis's on-field production and fiery competitiveness speaks for itself, but his leadership and team-oriented attitude impacted our culture in a way that will last in time even beyond his release. These decisions are always difficult, but we wish Jarvis well. And hold on, I got pop-up windows. And we wish Jarvis well, and we look forward to the day when he returns as a storied Browns alumnus. And I will say this, probably one of the 5 best players this franchise has had since coming back in '99. I don't think that's a stretch.
I think he's one of the 5 most important, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's one, you see the reports and we know that it's true and that it's happening, but it does sink in, and you think about it. Yeah, it's going to be a long talk with Beamsy today, and I'm sure a lot of you parents out there are going to have a similar one with your kids because there were so many 80 jerseys sold. There were so many.
And you know what? I saw something from Aaron Goldhammer from ESPN Cleveland on the show that RBS that happens right before ours. And he said, you can wear that jersey still to games, and you can wear it with pride because he's one of the good guys, and he's one of the guys that helped turn things around here.
Yeah, he's you absolutely can. Yeah, keep those autographed Jarvis Landry memorabilia that you have. Keep those jerseys because he's as good as it gets, man. He is absolutely as good as it gets. Some very kind words from Andrew Berry, appropriate words. It's the business. It's the business of it. It's a sucky business. Just from an anecdotal standpoint, I shared we talked a little bit about the Bobby Wagner move in Seattle, and you think about who that guy was as they're 10 years, 8 Pro Bowls, 6-time first-team All-Pro. You think about that, and it comes to a point where it's got to go another way. There's been various instances where guys go. I remember Laurinaitis telling me this, like when they were moving to L.A. and he was the Rams' all-time leading tackler. They flew him, Chris Long, and Todd Gurley to Los Angeles to go push the Rams in Los Angeles. And he was working out one morning, and Jeff Fisher called him into his office, and they cut him and Chris Long the same day. And a week previous, he was in L.A. talking about selling the Rams to Los Angeles. It's just the business of it. There's nothing delicate about it.
No.
It's just it's a blunt instrument, and it's a really brutal part of the game. But Jarvis Landry,
reading those numbers, you forget all that he did. In addition to being a locker
favorite
room
play,
leader.
my favorite play is I'm on it. I think Nate Z brought it up. It's in the Bengals game where he's getting the ball to the receiver so that we can stop the clock.
Yeah.
Like he did those things. He viewed. I remember asking him about it. He came in here. It was one of the days Z was off, and he came in here with me, and we did 20 minutes with Jarvis And I remember talking about those things and how he saw football. He was really a chess thinker of it. He was thinking 2 or 3 plays down the road, and nobody wanted to win more than him. Nobody. Nobody played through more than he played through. By the way, you never heard about it. Played through tremendous injury and just kept playing.
I don't want to say he was at the same level as Joe Thomas in the thought process, but he was right up there with him in terms of thinking.
The way he went about it at receiver was
guys,
similar.
making sure that guys were
Saw
lined
the whole
up
thing.
on side in like late in the game, like that Bengal game that they went down and won with Donovan Peoples-Jones. You know, it was Jarvis getting everybody set after the play. Like, don't celebrate. We're not there yet.
We're not here.
Like, the little things that he did, just it's unfortunate because we all wanted to see him end here.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you just, unfortunately, that can't happen.
Yeah. So there you go. Official on that front, Jarvis Landry has been released by the Cleveland Browns, and my guess is we'll find employment elsewhere relatively quickly. I think you said Benjamin Albright saying, or no, it was Armando Salguero saying
Albright
Buffalo.
Also saying Bills are definitely.
Bills are in the mix, yeah. I mean, you understand, if you're Jarvis and you're at this point in your career, if you've accomplished all the things that he has, there was a time when he was, and then Michael Thomas started usurping him, but there was a time where he was the fastest receiver through 3 seasons, through 4 seasons, through 5 seasons with receptions. Like, he was setting NFL records. His jersey was down in Canton because of that, because of how productive that he was early in his career on a reception standpoint. So he will be tremendously missed, and as soon as he makes some sort of statement, we will make sure we have it for you in what is a pretty wild NFL free agency bid. In terms of the football players, it's been wild for 2 weeks in the announcing side as well. This happened Friday, but it feels like forever ago.
This is like 5 o'clock on Friday.
It's your boy from The Princess Bride. Inconceivable. Joe Buck leaving Fox for ESPN and Monday Night Football. The new deal is 5 years, $60 million to $75 million is what you understand it, between 12 and 15 a year for ESPN. Joe Buck is the only voice that Fox Sports has ever known. It's the only voice they've ever known. He got there when he was probably 25, I would say. It was in the early to mid 90s. He's been the face of Fox Sports its entire existence. Him and him alone. That's it. That's the list. He has called every World Series on them. He's called all of the Super Bowls for them. He's punting on all of the World Series going forward and 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls. They have 2 of the next 3. He's punting on that too. And they did not want to pay him, which is shocking to me. Because to me, he's the face of their network.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't. On Friday, Fox granted Buck permission to speak with ESPN. A deal is expected to come to fruition shortly. Buck had 1 year and $10 million remaining on his contract. Fox, though, letting him out early as a gesture for his years of service to the company. This is from Andrew Marchand, New York Post, who is pretty dialed in on media.
He's
stuff.
broken all this stuff.
Yeah. Fox tried to keep Buck with an offer of $12 million per year. At ESPN, Buck will join his longtime partner Troy Aikman in the Monday Night Football booth. The Post previously reported Aikman has agreed to a 5-year, $92.5 million deal.
Okay, so what else is he doing? Like, you're just going to do Monday Night Football?
At
like,
ESPN,
that's not even the biggest.
For Buck, besides calling Monday Night Football, he's expected to be involved in producing ESPN Plus projects as well. In exchange for letting Buck out of his contract early, Fox will receive the ability to choose one Big Ten football game earlier next season. Means. The 2 networks share the rights to the Big Ten, and there is a drafting system that is utilized to pick games.
This will allow Fox to have Ohio State, Michigan, and Ohio State Notre Dame. That's what that'll do. So Ohio State Notre Dame was going to be an ABC, probably a prime time. Fox could go. My guess is they'll put it big noon, which I hope they don't. It's the first game of the year. Like, play that game in prime time, for God's sakes.
That would be nice. That's just you're right. What are you paying all these like? And the ESPN way is you're doing multiple things. You're not doing
like
just
he's just doing Monday Night Football. Like, he's going to do one playoff game in Monday Night Football. That's it. By the way, they still have the Manning cast on ESPN.
Yeah, you got to go up against that.
I got to think the only thing ESPN's thinking is by doing this, it puts us in a position to have the Super Bowl. That's got to be it. It's got to put them in a position to have the Super Bowl because the owners love this. You know, they will appreciate this gesture.
So here's the other thing, and I just had the thought and did a little homework. Joe Buck's wife works for ESPN.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's worked so far. I would imagine he's the breadwinner.
I would assume
because I think she's behind the scenes.
She is a former Denver Bronco cheerleader.
Yeah, she's like a behind the scenes. I think she does some on camera, not much. Some voiceover work, not much though. Yeah, I mean, it's a remarkable thing that's happened, and there is nobody at Fox like Kevin Burkhardt's probably the only guy in house, but there's not enough guys to go around, and it seems like Michaels is at the half-yard line with Amazon with Curb Street. You know, so that feels like
Herbie will also stay with ESPN. Yeah,
but in what? Yeah, he will. But I mean, like, can he possibly still do game day too? Like, you call Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels somewhere, and then you're going to do game day for 3 hours on Saturday? Doesn't seem likely.
I don't know. I don't know what Fox does. I mean, there's a lot of bodies. You know, I mean, is this? I don't know what Ian Eagles' contract is, but he's the number 2 guy at CBS behind Nance. Like,
do you
get him?
I don't know. I mean, Ernie Johnson's never leaving Turner. Like, I just don't know who else, you know, is in that face of the sport, you know, face of a network game. That's a different game, man. I mean, you know that's time to meet all the advertisers. Yeah. This guy's out front.
Yeah, when they bring everybody in and they do their big announcement weeks on the networks,
right,
to announce like their new programming, like not sports programming necessarily, but their new shows, their new comedies for the fall and their new dramas for the fall. And, you know, when they announce their new packages, it's usually like a 3-day media junket.
Yes.
That is hosted by usually the face of your network, which is the sports play-by-play guy.
Yes. And now
I'm
not sure who's doing that.
I mean, Fox doesn't have color commentators, much less play-by-play people.
They don't. I saw Cutler trying to get his name back in there, but he ain't Aikman.
Gus?
Maybe if you're Fox, maybe you pivot and maybe you just give it to the Mannings. Have them do it.
Yeah, they just re-signed that deal, though, with ESPN for 3 years.
They did. You're right. Yeah.
I don't.
That's a lot of money that ESPN has in Monday Night Football, which in the last 15 or 20 years since Sunday Night Football isn't even the best. It's not even a top 5 game of the weekend.
Yeah. I feel like ESPN should have pushed a little bit harder to have more of that flex type schedule like NBC, frankly, has on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. It's a lot of money to invest in the 5th best game of a week.
If you end up with the Giants 5 times in the year, like Monday Night Football seems to do frequently.
Like what they have, right? All right, we'll reset at the top of the hour. A lot going on here. Officially, the release of Jarvis Landry. So while there is a lot of joy out there and there's a lot going on, like, by the way, Bengals making some moves on the offensive line to really buttress that up. Some former Browns finding rich contracts out there. We will get you that. Some big-time names that maybe people didn't think would hit free agency are hitting free agency. We'll put it all in perspective here at the top of the hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. So as we come across the second hour of the program, obviously about 1 billion things happening in the NFL. We talked to you about the reported acquisition of Amari Cooper, spent quite a bit of time on that in the first hour. Worth noting the shrewdness of the move from Andrew Berry, because the wide receiver market was bone dry. There is not much out there in receivers. Mike Williams did not get to free agency. Godwin did not get to free agency. Andrew Berry saying very simply, we cannot allow Amari Cooper to get to free agency. What does it take to get him? A fifth? Fine. Done. Make it happen. And so it did. And so Amari Cooper reportedly in the fold for the Cleveland Browns. There is a cost to that, and the cost of that, and not necessarily just because of that, probably headed there anyway, was the now official release of Jarvis Landry. He is, I think, as important as any Browns player since this organization returned to the NFL. I think he's if Joe Thomas is at the top of the pantheon, then he's in the group. He heads the group right below it in terms of what he did. And I think from a heart and soul perspective, was as important as any player in the last 20 years to this franchise. He set a tone. He set a tone of accountability. He played through various injuries. And by the way, he was damn good. He was damn good. So we can talk about how good he is as a person, and he is that. How good he was as a man, he is that. Talk about how he held teammates accountable, he did. But also was a really good football player. And him not continuing on here is a very tough blow, but it's part of the reality of the business that you just can't keep everybody forever. And in this instance, Jarvis Landry is one of the cap casualties.
Yeah, the Chief, David Njoku, taking to his Instagram account, all I can say is thank you. Thank you for creating the standard and culture that was needed to be established here in Cleveland. Thank you for showing what true leadership is. You will never be forgotten in this city for all you have done. I love you, and I'll see you on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, that's the – there is – I think, in a way, we all love our NFL football. It's football. NFL football is first. College football is second in this country, but it's second's eighth. But I think when you talk to players, that's why they revere college so much, because it's rare that you have a Joe Thomas NFL experience where your NFL experience was as beloved as your college experience, because the college experience ends on your terms in many instances if you reach this level. In the NFL, it rarely does. Armando Salguero, among others, reporting that Jarvis' most likely landing spot is Buffalo. The other things, big news of the day, the Steelers going in with Mitchell Trubisky. So he will be the quarterback in Pittsburgh to compete for that job. My hunch is he'll win that job, and it'll be Mitchell Trubisky, the former Ohio schoolboy star, in Pittsburgh going forward. So they go from one former Ohio schoolboy star to another, Roethlisberger to Trubisky in Pittsburgh.
Last night on the U Stadium podcast, Nick, I don't know if you got this cut up or not, and I meant to tell you this in break, but obviously a lot going on. Benjamin Albright, our NFL insider, was on a podcast last night and basically was asked point blank about Von Miller. And there have been a few rumblings here and there, but this is what Benjamin Albright had to say about a rumor about Von Miller potentially going to the Cleveland Browns.
No, I talked to some of his people, and I don't know if that Cleveland thing is for real or not, but I know his people want it out there. I know they want that out there. So
could be a contract play. Could be he wants to come play with Myles Garrett.
Well, look, they're both Texas A&M guys. Yeah, they're both Texas A&M guys. I mean, he could – a week ago we were talking about he was putting Broncos stuff back on Instagram. Yeah. So he might want to end up back there too, and maybe just trying to drum up the market a little bit on that side. We do know this, that we will have to be aggressive in free agency on the defensive line. And some of these guys, including some former Browns, already getting paid, Gibby.
Yeah, indeed. And our good friend, and I'm happy to see this, Larry Ogunjobi, who the Browns, again, he's one of those guys that, you can only pay so many people. And this was a year ago at this time. We lost Larry to the Bengals. Larry signed a 1-year prove-it deal.
Yep.
He bet on himself. Well, guess what? That paid off pretty well. And it was unfortunately he couldn't play in the Super Bowl, but Larry's one of the all-time good guys. Larry Ogunjobi to the Bears, 3 years, $40.5 million, $26 million guaranteed. There is some money being thrown around.
Man, if you're the Bears and you're just trying to put Justin Fields in a position to succeed, Why are you giving 26? And I love Larry, and I'm glad if anyone's getting their money, it's him. Why are you spending $26 million on a defensive lineman? I mean, just the thought process doesn't make sense to me. Like you sent Khalil Mack out. Like, why are you spending big on a middle road, higher middle road defensive tackle? I don't understand it.
Yeah, there's a lot of money. Laken Tomlinson, 49er free agent guard, signing a 3-year, $41 million deal with the Jets. Like, there is some money being thrown around, and we'll talk about what's going on in our own division coming up at the bottom of the hour. But obviously, Larry O off the board, a guy that we had talked about, former Browns player, Emmanuel Ogbah, former Browns edge rusher, and with the Dolphins. He's had a couple good years.
Yeah.
He's set to hit free agency, and literally 10 minutes before free agency started, Emmanuel Ogbah re-signs with the Dolphins. 4 years, $65 million, $32 million guaranteed. The guaranteed money, by the way, just for people,
it's
you're
really
going to hear numbers, and they're going to sound big. The guaranteed money is what matters.
That's all that matters, yeah, is that guaranteed money.
$32 million guaranteed for Ogbah, and he stays with the Miami Dolphins.
Yep. So there's two guys that we had drafted who get rich other places. Wasn't Ogbah – what was that deal for? I remember we didn't like it at the time. That was a Dorsey deal.
Dorsey traded him for a safety that –
Oh, yeah,
played.
Eric
Hold
yeah,
on.
I know who you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Not great looking back on it.
No.
But Ogbah was consistently here, and part of that is the number of coaches he went through. Like, he was in a different system, never seemed to fit.
Right, yeah. So both of those guys getting money.
Eric Murray.
Yeah,
Oof.
of course, yeah, not
Rough.
great. So Ogbah's staying in Miami. The Packers did two things to me that doesn't, to me, make sense with Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay.
What you got?
Well, the two Packers deals, I don't understand it. Like, and Rodgers said he's happy to come back in Green Bay, but nothing's signed yet. Would he bail on them? I mean, it's just the one deal, like Devontae Adams tells the Packers he's not going to play on the franchise tag, and the sides are far apart on the deal. Packers have an interest reportedly in Allen Robinson. There's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to play in Green Bay without Devontae Adams. I assumed that was all worked out beforehand.
Well, I mean, if you're Devontae Adams, you're seeing a lot of money being thrown around by the Packers. Now, the Packers ended up releasing Zadarius Smith today.
Well, that's another part of it.
That you go, wow, that's a big loss. And the thing that scares me about that is the guy, the team that is most interested in having him is the team that originally drafted him, the Baltimore Ravens. You don't want to see that. But, yeah, I mean, you're not signing, I don't know what's going on there.
No, I don't either.
And all of a sudden, Devontae Adams is like, there's money being thrown around. How about a little bit for me? Like, you can't commit $20 million to me?
Yeah, and I just assumed that was all worked out before Rodgers resigned, that he wasn't going to go back there unless they would have that sorted out. Zadarius Smith potentially could be a target here.
I would think so. Why wouldn't? I mean,
right?
That would upgrade your defense.
Yeah, I mean, he would theoretically be a target here. We mentioned that the reported acquisition of Amari Cooper, that allows the Cowboys to redo their deal with Michael Gallup, so 5 years, $62 million on that.
Didn't Gallup tear his ACL?
He did, yeah.
That's a lot of faith. You're throwing around money, and I mean, he tore that in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was later. I feel like ACLs are like sprained ankles now.
I mean, even if it's 8 or 9 months.
Right.
Here's the thing. You're never back to even close your first year.
No.
It's usually that second year that you get back to being above 90%.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money being thrown around. And they really like Michael Gallup for whatever reason.
They do, yeah. And then the Cowboys also poking around on Bobby Wagner. That made all the sense in the world. My guess is that's where he ends up because Dan Quinn is a defensive coordinator in Dallas. He would have coached Bobby during his time in Seattle. And so that makes all the sense in the world. Didn't they get rid of Jalen Smith this offseason too? So I think that's all that tells you all you need to know on that side of things.
Yeah. I mean, there's A lot of guys getting paid here, especially on the offensive line, the defensive line, and guys that I don't want to disrespect anybody, but free agency. One football exec said a long time ago, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it's C and D guys getting paid A and B money. I'm starting to see that a little bit with certain players around the league. Whether it's a subject of desperation or whatever the case is. And guys are getting paid. I mean, if someone's willing to offer it.
Yeah, for sure. And this is happening so quickly. And remember, this was the thing I always found comedy about Urban when he was down in Jacksonville last year, when he was like, boy, we didn't get a chance to talk to these guys. Well, no, Urban, this stuff is happening now, or you miss it, which is why, as we bring it full circle, and we talked about the Jarvis thing, but it's why the Amari Cooper reported acquisition of Amari Cooper is a stroke of brilliance, because you don't let him go to market. If there's somebody you want, then you go get them. You don't run the risk of letting them go to market. And Andrew Berry didn't. And so he gets a number one receiver who's an elite route runner, a legitimate number one. Go look at Dak Prescott before they got Amari Cooper and after Amari Cooper. It's all you need to see. He is a big-time player. You're not done there. You still need major upgrades at the receiver position, whether that's at 13 or that's at continued free agency. Who knows? But it gives you a true number one receiver on the outside that is now in the fold, reportedly in the fold for the Browns in Amari Cooper, and it takes out any of the guesswork. All of it. It's gone. You don't have to worry about trying to sign him, or can we get him on the phone, or is this a number he'll do? No. Acquired, he's here. Done. That's it, reportedly.
They did the due diligence. They don't let him get to market. They take care of their business. And you're right. I just wonder that pick 13, I would not pen in wide receiver.
I think we'll know. You're going to know more. I wouldn't also count it out. I mean, I still think
Correct.
It's two. It's D-end or it's receiver. But I think you'll see where we are. I'll tell you this. This is what I know about Andrew Berry. I don't believe that he will go to the NFL draft in need of anything. So he will sign people on the defensive line. He will sign another receiver. He will go to the NFL draft. If we draft this guy, it puts us over this edge. That will be his mentality.
I think people need to remember, too, there are multiple phases to free agency.
Yes.
You got this first 72 to 96-hour deal where everybody, there's money getting thrown around right and left at people. And then the market reshapes and reconfigures, and then it's that second-tier guys. And then that third-tier guys, where you can find starters that contribute successfully to your football team. And I think that's where the Browns are. Remember, from a salary cap standpoint, it's not in years past where the Browns have the most money to spend. They don't have the least, but they aren't loaded up to go after free agents and make big splashes.
Yep.
They're going to have to be smart about who they're going after and who they're signing. And I would expect that to be the case. And maybe there's not as much activity this week. Who knows? We could be totally wrong, and tomorrow could be a totally different day.
Well, and the other thing that's now, because of the news Friday of, Deshaun Watson not being charged, he is now hanging over the league right now. And it's very complicated because he does have, as I mentioned in the first hour, a good deal of power in that he has a full no trade. So he can influence to an extent what Houston can get back. He can. If it looks like it's going to be too much, you can say, no, I'm not doing that. He can absolutely decide where he wants to play, like within reason. There will be teams that, my guess is the way that this will work is they'll say, give us your best offer. Several teams will give the best offer, and then they can say, all right, you can now talk to them. You can talk to him, and now a deal can be consummated. But that is hanging over all of this. So you had Watson news Friday. For us locally, we had Amari Cooper Saturday. You had Tom Brady, by the way, coming back Sunday night.
Yeah, which almost feels like an afterthought given what's gone on here already today.
Well, if I wouldn't have been at the Combine, I would have thought so. I mean, it felt like it was done. I mean, he did the show and all that stuff on ESPN Plus. Like, it felt like it was done. But as soon as we were at the Combine, we're like, you just knew he was coming back. and apparently coming back with Tampa Bay. He's got unfinished business. By the way, what business is unfinished? What else do you need to do?
What? I don't. You know what it is? I mean, I sent out in our little group chat last night some funny photos. Not wanting to be around his kids. Gas is up to $5 a gallon. I got to go back to work.
Got to get some work, yeah.
Things like that. Who knows? But clearly he never really wanted to retire, and now he's back, and we'll see. The best has been from a lot of the media, national media, that's like, next year when this happens again, just play back what we did this year. Like,
right, we don't want to go through it again.
I'm not going through this again. From Tom Pelissero just moments ago, Lions, Browns, Chiefs among the teams in on Allen Robinson. I got to think that Allen Robinson's number has gone up dramatically based on
yeah.
I mean, based on the wide receiver market.
It might be one of those things where what can you offer? Like I know the Chiefs are way up against it money-wise. And then, like, the Lions obviously need everything. They don't have anybody. So, it might just be that type of thing. I mean, Z loved him in the draft process. He's been quiet the last couple of years in Chicago, but who knows? But opposite Amari Cooper, now you're on to something. And then I don't think you're in a position where at 13 you have to, which is what I was saying, I think Andrew Berry will sign another receiver in free agency. I do. And I think that he will address defensive line in free agency. I do not think he will get to the draft and feel like he has to take a position at 13. I think he'll take the best guy on his board at 13.
Yeah. He's got some work to do. I mean, that defensive line, you're replacing potentially 3 starters.
Yeah.
I mean, it will not be an easy task.
No.
Especially given your salary cap situation. That being said, yeah, I fully anticipate him going to get another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Allen Robinson. I think it depends on the price. And I think Allen Robinson's price is going to go up, so you better have a plan B and a plan C in place.
Yep. Yeah, that's where you stand on that front. Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We will continue to keep you updated on where we stand in NFL free agency. This stuff happening fast and furious. Give a little bit of an outlook on where we stand. The brackets were out yesterday as well. We'll have a little fun with that. And then coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll get into where we stand around our division. The Bengals have addressed offensive line in a big way already. We will get to that as well. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gambling without setting limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. It's probably going to end up in a loss. So always set limits before you bet, and you get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com. What would we say I am at now? 59? 61?
You've been consistent around 60, 61.
Right in there.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started the show, I didn't know if I'd get here. I was really worried on the way over.
The first 30 seconds, I was trying to figure out if Baco was going to have to come in here to run the camera, and I was going to have to switch it up.
Yeah, we may have to switch it up. But we've done it. We've gotten it going.
Pretty impressive by you.
I've got throat coat. Have you ever had that? You ever have the throat coat herbal tea? So that helps. So I did a big throat coat before we started the show on the way over here. So that helps just keep it lubed a little bit.
Oh, that's my buddy had just sent me a photo of that. He said organic throat coat. They sell it at Heinen's. Works wonders for laryngitis.
That's what I'm dealing with right now. Tell him good job, buddy. What's his name?
Janko.
Good job out of you, brother.
Yep. There you go. He's the one that follows your Christmas bourbon.
Oh yeah, the bourbon apple pie.
Yes.
Yeah, very exciting. I'll do this this summer. I do a peach version as well that I'll do this summer, but I always time it up with the Red Havens when those pop up on the lake.
Oh yeah.
So that's usually late July, I want to say early August. So we'll do that this season on that front.
By the way, Gallup coming off of ACL surgery, not likely ready for the start of the season from Ed Werder.
Huh. Well, you just wonder, like you see that 62 and you just wonder what the
guaranteed.
Yeah, you just wonder what the guaranteed is on that front.
By the way, Ed Werder will join us tomorrow.
Oh, that's great.
So,
yeah. I was thinking, no. So Amari was in the national championship game the national semifinal against Ohio State.
Yes.
Yeah. Him and Landon Collins were both in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that well.
That game, Zegura joined us earlier. You can hear it later on in the pod center, but he brought it up when the Raiders first came to town in his first meeting against us. Amari Cooper made people look foolish.
Oh yeah,
It was, and you knew where the ball was going every single time, and there was no stopping it.
Yeah, he was a guy. I mean, he came after Julio. Julio was the first, but then he came after it, and they've had a steady diet of NFL receivers after. Like they just started to put it all on the offensive side, and now they have several every year that go in.
Is he the godfather of Alabama wide receivers?
No, Julio Jones.
Julio was before him.
Oh yeah, and Julio was, he was the first with Saban.
Because it had always been running back you.
Yeah, Julio was the first. But then, Cooper would have followed, and then they've been steady, well, more than steady. It's been them in Ohio State the last 6-7 years.
It's just
LSU's pretty damn good too.
We talk about that, and I just go back and I go, what were the Raiders doing? You had Carr, you had Khalil Mack, you had Amari Cooper. And just blew it up for no reason.
Right, and even all those ones they got from Mack, they didn't hit.
They screwed it up.
They needed to hit on those.
Every single one.
Yeah, that's why I brought them up last week with Z. Like I said, are we sure that, like, if you're them, do you say, man, we can't win anything right now? Let's put Carr on the market. If some of this stuff that's what's being offered for Deshaun, if some of that's real, throw Carr out there. If you get half of that from some desperate team. All sorts of reporting that Deshaun Watson is set to meet with Carolina. They appear to be the heavy front runner in this. I can't wait to see what the give back is. If it is there, I can't wait to see what the give back is on him.
I mean, I'm assuming you're throwing in McCaffrey.
Well, yeah.
You got to get that contract.
But he's going to have to sign off on it. So, like, who's he going to play with? I mean, he doesn't want to be on a bad team. He's already done that. I mean, he had a lot of weapons on those Houston teams. He's not going to want to go back to the Stone Age. So that's where you stand in NFL free agency. What did you get into the hoops this weekend?
I did. It was nice. It was nice to see fans in the stands.
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal. My buddy Cole, not Britton Cole.
Jeez,
my buddy Cole.
Cole had a good weekend too, though. The other Cole, Tennessee, won the SEC.
Oh, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Should they have been rated higher?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. He has 2 cousins. One plays for Wright State. One starts for Loyola Chicago. They're both in the tournament. And he and his wife booked a trip to Naples this weekend. I said, that's a horrible move out of you.
That is. It's not great.
Drivable. And
Oh, yeah. Loyola's in
State.
Pittsburgh, 12:15 on Friday.
I might not have a show on Friday. Might be a podcast only.
I was just going to say, you might not have me. I may take the children over there to that one. That's a close one. Get over there and watch the Buckeyes at a 12. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Yeah,
so
we're working through those logistics.
Yeah, I was going to say that's true because that's even my morning obligations are cut short on Friday. A little bit of a shorter show.
11:30 airtime?
11:15, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're out 2 hours and a 15-minute segment. And you're
With
out.
The Voice.
Hopefully we get there. It's only Monday. How are you bracket-wise? Are you a normal, sane human being and you start on the left and go down and get over and then round by round, right?
Yeah.
You don't fill one.
No.
Yeah, you're not a lunatic. I had somebody this morning tell me they finish one whole quadrant at a time, like one whole region.
No way.
No way, man. You got to go that way.
Are you good with all the ones? Gonzaga,
I think
Arizona,
Baylor,
Kansas, Baylor?
Baylor probably was a little over. I think if Kentucky would have beaten Tennessee, I think Kentucky could have and maybe should have been a 1. That's kind of the only beef, but it's a small beef. Like Baylor's certainly deserving. I think they were the 4th one. Kansas was the 3. Gonzaga and Arizona. I watched a ton of it. I mean, Montana State we're in, baby. Won the Big Sky Conference with ESPN Plus. I was able to watch the quarterfinal, the semi, and the final, which is awesome.
Worth every penny.
It was awesome, and my not a buddy of mine, but a kid who's my age, a man who's my age, who I played some all-star basketball with after high school. After my senior year of high school, there's in Montana, there's like this all-star circuit where you go play in these little towns. So he and I played on some teams together. He's the head coach at Montana State, and they're back in the tournament.
Where are they
so that's
playing?
Sweet. They're way out west, like
okay.
San Diego or something. They play Texas Tech. They have really good size for a mid-major, and it sucks because Texas Tech has a lot of size. So it's just a brutal matchup for them. But I watched all of that. I loved the MAC. The MAC tournament was awesome. John Gross can flat out coach it, man.
3 teams now he's taking to the dance.
I mean, he can flat out coach it. The 4 seed, Toledo's 40 years without advancing. They've been the 1 a lot.
Yeah, I think the only team with a longer drought is Bowling Green. In my lifetime, they've never made the tournament.
Even with Antonio Daniels?
Yeah. Jim Larinaga was the coach. Screwed the pooch. Couldn't win in the tournament.
Oh, God. I mean, I've long thought the MAC should be a 2-bid league. I think it's worthy of that. It's a shame.
And obviously what happened with Kent State and some of their guys getting suspended Saturday night and not playing. That hurt them and put them behind them.
Now, that was self-imposed, right?
Correct.
Like Kent State did that?
Yep.
So I don't have all the details on that. I mean, it was a song, and they were and all of that. It went on social media, so they don't pass an intellectual test, obviously, by putting that on social. But I also thought it was a really strict penalty. I was surprised at the severity of it, based on what I heard of what they did. Either way, though,
it's a back and forth. The 2 teams hate each other. The colleges hate each other. There's no love lost, and I'm sure this wasn't the only time this has happened. Yeah. But, I mean, it is what it is, and Akron's going to the dance. Now, Akron's got a tough challenge.
Where are they? They're the 3? Or they're the 14? Who's the 3?
I believe it's UCLA.
UCLA's a 4, aren't they?
Yeah, 13-4.
Oh, they're the 13.
Yes.
UCLA's the 4.
13.
Yeah, that'll be tough. That'll be tough.
That's going to be a challenge.
Speaking of UCLA, I watched this was the beauty of the weekend. I had not seen Arizona play, and because of their archaic television contract. So I watched them. They were on Big Fox Saturday night at like 9 o'clock was the Pac-12 championship game, and I stumbled onto it, and UCLA was fired up to win it. And when you guys see a UCLA play this week, it's everybody they had last year. They were fired up to win the Pac-12, and Arizona was down the whole game and then just blitzed them. Like, they can flat out go. Arizona is legit.
And that'll make Zegura happy.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a diehard Duke fan. I would be surprised if they get to the Sweet 16.
Well, where do they play Texas Tech? Is that in the Sweet 16? That's the one I think.
They would play them in the Sweet 16, but they would play Michigan State in round 2.
Michigan State plays Davidson, though. I think Michigan State could go home there. Michigan State doesn't shoot it as well as I think they need to.
I feel awful
but Duke's
for those
playing
kids.
bad.
Like, they are caught up in the Coach K stuff. Like, it's too much.
They're
this
shrinking
farewell
under
tour has been taxing.
Yeah.
It has been exhausting.
You could see that.
They're done.
Mm-hmm.
They're done mentally, and I'm not sure how this goes.
You could see that Saturday night. Like, they just didn't have
so disappointing because they are a Final Four team.
Oh, they had the talent for it, for sure.
Yeah.
They absolutely have the talent for it.
Beyond frustrating.
Yeah.
That this is – I have all the respect in the world for Coach K. I don't think he has handled this well at all.
I think no, I don't either. The Buckeyes get about the worst draw you can get. I mean, Loyola Chicago is the worst possible team to play. They upset. They were a 15 last year and beat Illinois. They are legit in every way. They have guards. They defend like dogs. They want to play the game in the high 50s, low 60s. Ohio State wants to play in the 75 to 80s. It's as bad as can be. If somehow they're able to get through it, and let's remember they do have 2 pros. If they're able to get through it, I think Villanova is doable.
They could beat Villanova.
I think Villanova is doable, but I think they're underdogs. They're the 7, and they're an underdog to the 10. So that tells you where you are on that front. All right, we'll get you updated on what all the teams in the AFC North are doing in free agency. That's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. I see another receiver is off the board.
Yeah, we got a couple of things in the break, couple updates here. The Jags signing wide receiver Christian Kirk away from Arizona. I know that was a guy that maybe could have been on a radar screen or two. Kirk going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got a big-time defensive tackle.
They signed Scherf, too, right?
Brandon Scherf. Spending some money. And, oh, by the way, looks like with the right group in place, headed in the right direction.
Well, they're also going to get Travis Etienne back
Yep.
at running back. He was injured to start the year, so that's a free first-round pick. They're picking first, so they can pick. They're going to add probably a defensive end or an out. Maybe with Scherf now they go defensive end there. That division, look around.
It's for the taking.
It's there, man. It's there for the taking if you're them. It actually makes a lot of sense in terms of what they're doing.
Yeah, they've got the quarterback.
They've got it. They got that part figured out.
Quarterback in the division right
no
now.
question.
I mean,
it's Tannehill. Who knows what the hell's going to be in Indy? It's Davis Mills and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Braxton Berrios, another wide receiver that I thought could be on the radar screen, back to the Jets. And the Eagles have just picked up pass rusher Hassan Reddick.
Okay. Well, they needed help there, so that makes some sense. As we look at the teams in our division and what they've done, I think the headliner right now it's got to be Cincinnati. I mean, the Trubisky thing is flashy because everybody knows who he is in Pittsburgh, but I think it's Cincinnati. And this is from Field Yates within the last hour. They signed Alex Kappa and Ted Karras on the offensive line. Field Yates says both Kappa and Karras are no-nonsense, tough as nails, rock-solid pass protectors. There's no doubt Cincinnati has taken a major step forward to correct their pass protection in a major way so far today. They have one job.
Yeah.
That's it.
Kappa comes from New England.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Kappa from Tampa Bay.
Karras
from New England.
Yeah, Kappa won a Super Bowl with protecting Brady.
Yeah.
And now Karras comes from New England.
And they franchised Jesse Bates.
Right. So the interior of their offensive line strengthened, protect Burrow. They're in a good position to be. They had one job. That was it. Looks like they're doing it so far in free agency.
Yeah. And they return all their playmakers.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And everybody else is here trying to figure out, how to keep up with those teams. As we continue around the division, Pittsburgh adds Mitch Trubisky to go in and compete in the AFC North.
Not a whole lot more than that, though. They I know that they were talking to a couple of their guys, role player guys, on smaller deals, but nothing really that stands out. The Ravens have not made any moves. No,
quiet on their front. But Nathan, this kind of happened after this happened after I left Indy. But he must have had some conversations about Baltimore and some unrest over there that I wasn't privy to those. Not that I'm privy to every conversation he has, but coming out of Indy, he was kind of strong that maybe there was more going on in Baltimore than what we were led to believe.
Meaning?
I don't know. Just that maybe it wasn't all on the same page, rowing in the same direction. You were off, I think, when he was talking about that, and I didn't know where he got it from. So my hunch is it happened towards the end of the week in Indy because it didn't happen when I was there. Another one, this is from Rappaport. The Bengals keep a big one. B.J. Hill gets a 3-year, $30 million deal, $15 million in year one. So they keep another one of their guys.
That was an interesting name that I thought could be a guy for us to take a peek at. But that's a lot of money. Interesting. Back-to-back years, the Bengals spending money who have never spent money prior to last year.
Yeah.
Never is the answer.
Yeah. Well, they're in a window, man. They are in a window, and they are – that the problem is that there are so many AFC teams in the window. This is why you see what happens in Minnesota, because you got a puncher's chance. I mean, get us in the dance. In the AFC, if you're not a part of this arms race, how do you keep up?
Yeah. I mean, right now the Bears and the Lions, and then – if you can split with the Packers, the Vikings, You're right there.
You're right there in the mix. So the Bengals being very, very aggressive today. And then the Steelers going with Mitch Trubisky. That's the big headliner, I think, of the day in the North, other than obviously what's happened here with the acquisition reportedly of Amari Cooper and then the release of the beloved Jarvis Landry. But the Steelers going with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. Trubisky was a guy who had a lot of buzz. Have you seen any numbers on Trubisky in terms of what the deal is? I know it's 2 years, but I haven't seen any numbers.
No, I have not. I'll take a look here.
So it was $2.5 million last year in Buffalo.
To not play and somehow increase your worth.
The whole league could have had him. They did a 1 year, $2.5 million for him to back up Josh Allen. He didn't play. He did not play last year, and somehow comes out of it better than before, and now potentially to be the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh with just 1 year in Buffalo behind Josh Allen.
No,
I haven't seen it anywhere on the
there
number.
Are no contract off deals yet.
Yeah, the Bengals keeping their D-line together, and they're amplifying their offensive line. They are in a window, and they are acting accordingly. It's pretty simple in terms of what they're trying to get done here, but that's exactly what they're doing, with that roster.
It's got to do what you have to do. It's an arms race in the AFC. Where would we slot Tampa Bay in our power rankings?
I'd have them.
Remember the other day? We put everything together. We only had like 2 or 3 NFC teams in the power rankings. Tampa Bay was not one.
Well, I mean, if you're just doing teams who you can see as currently constructed winning the Super Bowl, Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Chargers.
I think the Chargers are secondary.
They were at the top of the next list. Rams, Packers.
I think Rams,
Bucks.
Packers, Cowboys were in there, but Cowboys were like 9th.
Rams, Packers, Bucks. Who am I missing in the NFC? Who's a
Cardinals?
And then, Cardinals,
and
Cowboys.
We weren't sure with the 49ers. It was going to depend on who their
about
quarterback.
There's one other team I'm missing in the AFC besides Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, and the Chargers. Oh, Denver.
Yeah.
Denver. Yeah. I think Tampa Bay now moves into that group. Like, if you want to move L.A. out of that group, to me, Buffalo right now win the Super Bowl, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Denver, Packers, Bucks, and Rams.
Yeah, I would put Tampa Bay ahead of Dallas.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're ahead of Cardinals, Cowboys, Chargers. Probably you could even put them ahead of Denver, honestly, just because of the ease of the division they play in. Yeah. Yeah, they're running the same team back, and they were really good last year. He threw for 5,000 yards.
I mean, they got a lot of free agents. They really do. I think there's 24 players from Tampa Bay's team hitting free agency.
Yeah.
We'll see how it all unfolds, including Leonard Fournette, who revived his career with Tampa Bay here the last couple of years. Real quick, Myles Garrett taking to Instagram to talk about Jarvis Landry. Intensity, passion for the game, striving to be better. You brought those everywhere we went. Some would even say it was contagious. Godspeed, 80. Be seeing you soon.
Yeah. Yeah, he's beloved. I mean, it's a big blow to lose Jarvis Landry. Connor Hughes with this reporting, there's all these crazy. It's almost like if you're a reporter now, not only, and we're in this position sometimes too, not only do you have to knock down all of the nonsense that's out there, you're also trying to find out information on your own. So you're finding your own information. You're also trying to, disprove all the stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
And Connor Hughes, who covers the Jets for The Athletic, and SNY TV, saying there's absolutely zero truth to report making its way on Twitter right now that the Jets called the Texans about Deshaun Watson, offering up Zach Wilson and picks. None. So it's silly season, man.
Well, and here's the thing. Number one, you're not going to know what deals have been offered. And number two, were they even presented? And did Deshaun Watson just say no, thank you?
Well, that's why I keep saying, like, he doesn't hold all the cards, but he holds a good deal of them.
Yeah, he does.
He holds a good deal of the cards that are out there. So Houston is hamstrung a little bit, more than a little bit. Now, in the end, they'll hold all the cards because they can just say, well, fine, we won't pay you. But then it'll submarine not just his career, but their franchise. So that's the thing there, because they can fast track a rebuild with some of what's being reportedly offered for him. They can fast-track it in a real hurry over the course of the next couple of years. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Buying or selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, always a winning strategy. If you plan to move this season, they're going to have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today for more. What a wild first day of legal tampering. My goodness, was that a lot going on. And more to come.
You made it, buddy. You made it.
We did make it. We made it. We're here. We got through it. We'll attempt to get through it again tomorrow, where I'm sure we'll have more to discuss. This is going to be a wild 24, 48 hours for you. Good job out of you, Gibbe. We are back tomorrow. The next level coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.